By July 1943, Adolf Hitler was at a crossroads. Benito Mussolini, his main partner in the war against the Allies, had been overthrown and arrested by order of the fascist party itself. The Führer had the option of abandoning him to his fate and letting him be sentenced to life imprisonment or, worse still, executed. However, this would have left a disastrous precedent that would undermine his own authority. After all, if he did nothing, this could be interpreted by some ambitious Nazis as a sign that they could remove Hitler from power. The Führer gave the order to rescue Mussolini, who was being held in a hotel in the Apennine Mountains in southern Italy. The guards had orders to shoot him if anyone tried to get him out of there. The situation was critical, and the Nazi leader knew that he could not entrust such a task to just anyone. To coordinate the details of the operation, he called a meeting at the Wolf's Lair, a German barracks located in an East Prussian forest. At a certain moment, the office door opened and the man Hitler would entrust the rescue to entered the room. He was a giant almost 2 meters tall and over 100 kilos in weight. A disturbing scar ran down his face, from the edge of his chin to his ear. Everyone in the National Socialist movement had heard stories about him. It was said that he was fearless, cunning, and ruthless in equal measure. He was both feared and respected, and the Führer considered him his most capable soldier. The dictator ordered him to find Mussolini and bring him to safety, to which the giant responded with a simple kick of his boots and got to work. Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we will tell you the story of Otto Skorzeny, the most dangerous man in Europe. Otto Skorzeny was born in Austria in 1908, into a middle-class family of nationalist ideology. From a young age he had a penchant for physical violence, so he sought to channel that energy by joining a society of duelists. He spent his days training with the sword and fighting in fencing demonstrations. In his 10th confrontation, when he was 20 years old, a rival slashed his cheek, leaving a hideous scar that spanned his entire face. Since then, he would be known by the nickname Scarface, which accompanied him until the end of his days. Soon after, as the National Socialist movement grew, his ideas captivated the young Skorzeny, who joined the party. Turned into a full-fledged Nazi, he enlisted in the armed forces and became a pilot, paratrooper and explosives expert. He had a natural talent for battle and his mastery of firearms was amazing. On the other hand, his peculiar appearance made him an intimidating character. His skills earned him entry into the SS, Nazism's elite soldier organization. After the outbreak of World War II, he participated in the campaigns in France, the Netherlands and the Balkans. During the invasion of the Soviet Union he was awarded the Iron Cross, one of the highest German military decorations. The fame of Scarface, who would come to be considered the most dangerous man in Europe, reached the ears of the Führer himself. That is why, on July 25, 1943, he received the most important order of his life. Hitler summoned him to the Wolf's Lair and ordered him to rescue the Duce, who was detained in the Apennines. 4 weeks, Otto Skorzeny searched for information on Mussolini's whereabouts. The Italian government, which had overthrown him, planted false rumors to avoid finding him, but all to no avail. Our protagonist had a mission and failing was not an option. After discovering that he was in a hotel located on the Gran Sasso, the highest peak of the mountain range, he set off there at the head of a squadron of gliders. In the early morning of September 12, 1943, they landed in the mist 20 meters from the hotel. Rifles in hand, they entered and stormed the Italian guards, who surrendered without firing, and freed the Duce. The fascist leader's first reaction was absolute surprise. He believed they were coming to kill him, but then he calmed down and said, "I was sure Hitler would not forget me in these mountains, let's get out of here." The mission was successful, and Mussolini returned safely to Germany. Skorzeny was promoted to the rank of commander and became, definitively, the Führer's trusted man. In the last 2 years of the war, Scarface was in command of the Third Reich's most sensitive operatives. In May 1944, he was ordered to capture dead or alive Josip Broz Tito, the leader of the Yugoslav resistance, who was strongly opposed to Nazi rule in the region. Skorzeny led a group of paratroopers to meet Tito's partisans, and they engaged in a fierce battle. Despite being outnumbered, the Germans were victorious, but at the price of failing their mission, as the Yugoslav leader escaped Scarface's clutches. Months later, in October 1944, Hitler summoned our protagonist once more. On this occasion, he assigned him the task of sowing confusion among the Allied ranks before the Battle of the Bulge began. This was the last great offensive of the Third Reich, which consisted of a gigantic attack through the forested area of Belgium, France, and Luxembourg. Skorzeny and his men were to disguise themselves as American soldiers, infiltrate their lines, and wreak havoc within the enemy army itself. The goal was to distract them long enough for the German army to mow down mercilessly. To do this, Skorzeny had 80 soldiers who spoke fluent English, 14 jeeps, and 60 tanks disguised as American vehicles. At first things went according to plan. The infiltrators managed to blend in with their opponents and, without being noticed, they began various sabotage actions. However, the Allies realized they were being hit from within, and one by one the Germans were arrested. Since wearing another army's uniform was a war crime, 20 Germans were shot on the spot. Skorzeny was not captured, but while wandering the front lines, he was hit by a grenade, the shrapnel of which struck him in the head and knocked him unconscious. Scarface ended up in a hospital in Berlin, where he was treated and recovered from his injuries. He continued to take orders from the German High Command, but by now he was fighting a losing war. On May 8, 1945, when the Third Reich was already in ruins, he turned himself in to the U.S. Army. In the following 2 years, Skorzeny was tried in Nuremberg for war crimes, although the only proven crime was the use of enemy uniforms in the Ardennes. He was sentenced to prison in a denazification camp in Germany, but his SS comrades rescued him and helped him escape to Francisco Franco's Spain. There he was received with open arms, became a protégé of the Generalissimo, and lived in a luxurious ranch. However, Skorzeny was a restless man and his adventures did not end there. According to certain rumors, he traveled to Argentina, where he would have met President Juan Domingo Perón, and would have become one of the personal guardians of the First Lady, Eva Duarte. After the coup that overthrew the Argentine president in 1955, Scarface headed for Ireland, where, once again, he changed course. He apparently became a farmer, but the truth is that he lived in a mansion surrounded by 650 hectares of fields. Some said that he could afford such a lifestyle by working for the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service. It is said that he agreed to help in certain clandestine operations in exchange for not being persecuted for his Nazi past. Otto Skorzeny spent his last days in Madrid, where he died of cancer in 1975, at the age of 67. We have reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for joining us, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history.